Hello and welcome back to this episode of your Kingsport blog video update. I'm Jeff Fleming, City Manager for the City of Kingsport, and I'd like to catch you up from the last couple of board meetings. The most significant information that we've received recently is that Moody's and S&P, who are the most nationally respected financial advisors in the country, have rendered their rating of the city's financial health, and they have given us very high rankings once again. And so that should reassure our citizens and our taxpayers that you live in a community that takes finance very seriously. We've had a lot of talk lately about back to basics, about focusing on the fundamentals, and so it's really important that folks understand how conservative the Board of Mayor and Aldermen and the city staff are with the financial resources that they're given. So we were actually able to do our bond sale as a result of the rating, and we got a very low interest rate ranging from 2.6 to 2.79%, which is a lower percentage rate than we had anticipated, which allowed us to borrow even less money, about $1 million less in fact. So that's certainly good news and will allow us to pass those savings along to our taxpayers. Moody's did comment that they would like to see more effort on building up our fund balance, which if you were talking about your own personal savings, that would be comparable to your savings account. You really want enough cash flow available that if in some catastrophic event you could pay your bills for some period of time. We hear that personal financial advice all the time, and the city does hold 20% of cash on hand to be able to do that. And anything that's above and beyond that is what we're talking about in terms of trying to build up even more. So the ultimate goal to get to the next level would be 30%, which is a real stretch. But if we do a little bit at a time over a number of years, hopefully we'll be able to get there. So again, we're just trying to be good stewards of the community's resources. We recently toured several schools along with the school board to understand the condition of the facilities. That's in prep for the school facilities study that's currently underway. Both the city and the county are looking at their facilities, the condition of the facilities, and there will be recommendations made on what might need to be done in the future to maximize those facilities and resources in the future. There are a number of opportunities for public input, and I would encourage you to go to k12k.com and check out when those public meetings will be available for you to take a look at what the consultants are recommending. One of the schools that we toured was Andrew Jackson Elementary School up on Donaldson Drive at Stone Drive, and the building was built in the 1920s, but it's really meticulously maintained. But some of the teaching techniques have certainly changed over time, and so trying to apply modern teaching techniques into a 1920s building sometimes can be a little bit challenging. So again, I would encourage you to check that out. Also, our Board of Mayor and Aldermen has asked the school facilities consultant to come to the next work session, and he will be addressing our board, just updating them on the status of this facility study. We'd like to be able to continue to work with the county to make decisions that can benefit taxpayers on both sides of the city-county boundary, and so we'll certainly work toward that. We continue to focus on code enforcement, and since we really began that effort shortly after July 1st, we have had well over 400 calls for service to the 224 code phone number, and we have a whole fleet of people that are working to try to reconcile any of those kinds of concerns. There will be a full update presented at a future Board of Mayor and Aldermen work session that will explain sort of what the challenges that we're facing and offering some suggestions on how we can move forward in the future. We're also looking at the traffic signal system across town and basically just trying to assess the current demand. A lot of times the traffic signal was installed for whatever reason historically, and no one on the current staff can actually remember what the rationale was at the time. So going back and applying current traffic engineering principles, some of those are being recommended to be removed. One of those is the intersection of Sevier Avenue and Lamont Street. It was installed a few years ago when the the road widening took place. The road rebuilding of Sevier Avenue took place back in the early 90s. It did not meet signal warrants anymore. Signal warrants are traffic engineering terms for the criteria that you have to meet in order to qualify for a signal. If you don't meet those criteria, then a signal does not go in. It's things like safety, the volume of the intersection, and any number of other things. So we did replace that signal with a four-way stop. And so in that case, it'll allow the intersection to be what we call self-leveling. So as you approach the intersection, you'll just basically take turns proceeding through the intersection. It'll become a self-leveling kind of situation, as opposed to having the expense of having to operate a signal system and perhaps make people wait in the middle of the night when nobody else is even at the intersection. So it's just a better use of our resources. Two others that we're currently examining: we will be posting signs and notifying neighbors that we are looking at these two intersections. Not that we have pulled any triggers or made any decisions yet, but we're also looking at Watauga and Lamont, and Watauga and Crescent, which are the two main entrances into Fair Acres neighborhood. So we're going to take a look at those and see what that might hold in the near future. We continue to work with the Bray site developer. The Bray site is what's commonly known as Supermarket Row at the intersection of West Sullivan Street and Clinchfield Street. The developer plans to put 200 plus apartments at that location. The 7 acres is currently owned by the Economic Development Board, and we just extended that arrangement through the end of the year, and so we're trying to finalize those plans so they can get moving on building those much needed apartments in the downtown area. Those apartments will be the first new construction that is targeted at the same audience that is currently renting loft conversions in the downtown area. So we do have quite a number, I believe in the 80 to 100 number of loft units downtown. They're so popular that they're really just advertised on Craigslist, and there's a waiting list as they become available, so they really haven't had to, the developers of those lofts haven't really had to advertise them. But some of the folks that are looking at those lofts would prefer new construction. So this just adds one more dimension to the downtown housing portfolio, and downtown housing, of course, is what drives the economy and puts quote-unquote feet on the street and brings disposable income to downtown. So we're just trying to continue to facilitate that as well. McAdoo's opened recently on Broad Street. That's been very well received. I noticed a picture in the Times News recently where several people were out with umbrellas, and I think the caption of the paper was related to the weather. But when I looked at that, what I saw was that there were customers that were so eager to be on Broad Street in the rain that they were willing to get out and use their umbrella when it may have been more convenient to drive somewhere else and park. So again, we're just continually trying to build up our customer base for the downtown area. Also, quarterly financial reports, we're now providing those to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. We're able to build our fund balance up this year very slightly, but we're planning to advance that even more in the future, and we're going to continue to provide those on a quarterly basis to them so that we can make sure that we're on top of any trends that may need to happen in terms of decisions that might need to be made at mid-year. We also are dealing, as most companies are, with healthcare. We're trying to come up with a plan that's fair to our employees, but it's also fair to our citizens. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen, in a very progressive move a few years ago, provided the Care Here facility, which is a wellness clinic in the old health department across from Dobbins Bennett on Midland Drive. That clinic, it's actually cheaper for the city's self-funded insurance program to hire a full-time doctor, a nurse, and a nurse practitioner, and have pre-scheduled visits for our employees, and we're able to do that with no copay, and no copay for most pharmaceuticals that are generic and are readily used for a variety in volume, I guess you should say. So it's a great, effective, cost-effective model for our employees, so we encourage them to use that. And then so we did have to increase our deductibles across the board to make sure that folks are making wise choices because we are self-funded. Again, we've seen healthcare costs go up dramatically across the nation. We've seen other private companies locally have to deal with that. So the changes that we have just recommended are actually better than the regional average in government and substantially better than the private sector. So it's not something that we're jeopardizing our employees, but we're also trying to be very cost effective with our citizens. So that's your quick update. Once again, I'm Jeff Fleming, City Manager, and I would encourage you to check out my blog at kingsportblogger.com.